Welcome to the Rational Egoist. I'm your host, Michael Liebowitz. I'm sure that a lot of you have either been called a narcissist or called somebody a narcissist or heard somebody called a narcissist. It seems to be a very popular term nowadays, often used wrongly in my view, but nonetheless, I recently read a well-written article on the differences between narcissism and bullying, and I knew I had to talk to the article's author. So I decided to have her on. She's a psychotherapist and life coach, and she's coming to us from the UK. She's Mariette Jansen. Welcome.
Hey, Michael, good to see you.
So in
All
your
laughing
article,
about dividend. It's going to be a very serious topic, and we're just laughing. But I think that's so good.
so the first thing that you did in your article was to state that narcissistic personality disorder is a personality disorder. What is a personality disorder?
A personality disorder is an ingrained, I would say, a system of being where it's part of who someone is. Sometimes you say this is part of your DNA. A personality disorder is part of a DNA. It's part of your emotional mental makeup, like a
Okay.
hand or a finger or another part of your body.
It's an integral part of who somebody is, right? It's not as if it's
Totally.
something added on. It's actually the core of the person.
It's part of the internal system. Yeah.
So when it comes to narcissistic personality disorder, what are the characteristics or the diagnostic criteria for those in the audience that are like the nomenclature?
Okay. Now I always talk about five characteristics,
Okay.
and there are more, and there are there are things that overlap each other, and there's fakeness, and then there's very sort of a lot of clarity. But a narcissist is the center of their own universe, as young people definitely are, and maybe as all of us are up to a certain level. But the narcissist then wants themselves to be also the center of your universe. They are the most important thing. They are grandiose. They are the most interesting. They are sort of, and they want other people to look at them at exactly the same thing. So that's one thing. So they are the center of the universe. Because of that, they're entitled. If we were in a relationship, it doesn't matter what type of relationship, but and I was the narcissist, I would want to have, I'm entitled to your time, your energy, your money, your social life, your joy, your everything. I would suck you dry. And I wouldn't say thank you to any of that because I'm entitled to that, because I'm important. The third thing is a narcissist wants to have their way, needs to have their way, needs to win, and they will twist and lie and manipulate to get what they want. It's like they don't have a conscience, no guilty conscience. They wouldn't feel guilt because whatever they do to someone, whatever they create, it's to benefit them, and that's the most important thing to them. Then the fourth one is they lack total empathy. So they are in the square box, they can see people suffer, they can make people suffer, and they don't get it. They don't get that how it is to suffer for other people. And then the fifth one, what was that? Ah, yeah, yeah. They are always right. So this is where the competitiveness in their way of being comes in. It's life is about winning or losing, and they want to win. And in order to win, they have that attitude of they are always right. So if you want to have a little test and see if someone is on the narcissistic spectrum, challenge them. Say, sorry, Michael, what you are saying there is absolute BS. Can't agree less. It's just a dumb remark. And then observe their response to that. their reaction to that, that will be very over the top. They will be really angry about that. It might be the end of the relationship. Hooray, that was sorted then. But you know, it's a really good checkpoint.
That's an indication of something called the narcissistic paradox, right? Where narcissists are supposed to be these self-assured, confident people, but when challenged, an underlying insecurity seems to be revealed, whereby they can't take any perceived threats to their own ego or to their own power, right?
Well, the underlying that's and it's very tragic, really. The underlying power that motivates the narcissist is hiding their insecurity. And they do that very well. And they do that at the detriment of other people.
Okay, so the article, what you did was you contrasted bullying with narcissism, and you did it along seven metrics, not seven, several metrics. So I'd like to just go through them and you can tell us how the two differ along these metrics. And the first
Yeah.
one was the role of an audience. So, how does a bully differ from a narcissist when people are watching?
A narcissist will operate behind closed doors because what their persona, their image is really important. And they want to have an image like they are better than others, they are prettier than others, they are richer than others, whatever they are, they're more interesting than others. A bully is just a bully thrives on an audience because by bullying someone else and having other people to see that, they pick that up as an important role for them. They get a confirmation of their importance through those other people. And narcissist gets confirmation of their importance or their control through controlling someone and seeing their victim crumble, but only them. That's enough for them.
So it seems like to both narcissists and bullies, the their impression management, how they wish to be seen by other people, is very important. But they want to be seen in different ways. So whereas the bully wants to be as somebody that's dominant, controlling, can make people feel badly, the narcissist wants to create a false image of somebody that's actually good.
Yeah. And a bully wants other people to be afraid of him or her as well, not just their victim, but the other people as well. Where a narcissist, it's sufficient to have their target, their victim.
Okay, you also say that the process is different. How so?
Bullying is pretty straightforward, really. It's the bully is here, the target is there, and there's the attack from the bully. Yeah. In narcissistic abuse, there's a cycle. It's way more subtle. It starts with when say there's a new relationship forming. It could be a friendship, a romantic relation. Let's say a romantic relationship. It starts with love bombing. Love bombing is over the top. Notes, presents, attentions, 27,000 text messages a day. It's like, oh my God, this person is wonderful. The next stage then would be like when you thought that other person was wonderful and you were wonderful, that other person, the narcissist, is starting to chip away on your picture and becomes critical and it has critical notes and say, oh, how can you do that? Oh, no, that doesn't suit you. Oh, that's not well done. That's and start bit by bit by bit over time. And over time can be weeks or months, really chipping away the confidence and the joy of their target, their victim. Then the victim gets more and more sort of nervous, insecure, and it will lead to an explosion. And this will be led by the narcissist because the narcissist wants that moment of drama and a big row, and I'm walking out of this and I don't want you anymore, all this. So the victim then is in a total sort of state of array. And then the narcissist comes back to hook in again. and starts the love bombing. And then you get the same cycle is going to be repeated, 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 repeated. It's very clever. It's a lot of emotional and mental manipulation is going on. So it's more complex than what a bully does. A bully is bang straight in there, and you know,
So,
and no nonsense.
so narcissists, it seems, are more strategic, tactical, and methodical, whereas the bully is kind of the bull in the china shop.
Yeah, yeah.
That I find interesting. So when you say another metric where you differ them along is roles and perception, what do you mean by that?
Well, a bully doesn't hide his behavior at all. Might feel proud of it and say like, well, look at me, where the image for a narcissist is really important. So they are, again, what they are doing is they do that behind closed doors. And it's a classical situation where a narcissist is operating in the same social circle as the victim. The victim would say and would knock on the door of a friend and say, "Oh my God, no. I mean, what happened last night? It was awful. I feel so diminished. I feel gaslighted. This person is really harming me, is really disrespecting me." And then the friend would say, "Really? Because I never see that narcissist in that way. It's the life and soul of the party. He's always social. He's always concerned about you, the way he talks to me about you. I can't match those two stories together in the same person." So the narcissist is really not showing their true colors to the world. Where the bully is like, here I am. This is me. Boo, boo, boo.
A lot of your descriptions of the narcissist are very similar to people who would have antisocial personality disorder. If you don't know the answer, it's fine. It just came up to me. But how do they differ? Narcissists in people with antisocial personality disorder, or in the two? I mean, it seems like they could very easily mesh where they would be co-occurring.
Yeah, I think that is. And there are gray lines. But for instance, if you look at a sociopath, they are they are operating slightly different. Psychopaths, similar thing. So I would say a psychopath is, I mean, there is absolutely not even the idea of wanting to build an image. Yeah, and I think, and the same is the sociopath. I think the narcissist is all about image and
Okay.
themselves.
What made me think of it was I looked to my left and saw my next question, and that has to do with the power games because criminals and sociopaths are very intent on domination people and manipulating people and being in control of the situation, viewing people as pawns. So when it comes to bullies and narcissists, how do they differ when it comes to their attempts to gain power and how they use power?
A bully chooses a victim that is less powerful than them. So that might be physically, that might be mentally, that might be if they, they will look at someone and say, "Oh, I am this big, you are this big, so I know I will win already." Yes, so there is there's no competition. Where a narcissist will look at what people can bring to the party. So they are looking for trophies. They are looking to surround themselves with people who can lift them and who can lift their image. At the same time, this particular person need to have a lot of empathy to be a good candidate for the narcissist, but they like a challenge. Because if you are a very successful, a very rich, business successful person, they take that on as a challenge to make sure that, to try to undermine you and therefore lift themselves even higher up. So a narc would not step away from a challenge like that.
But the bully would.
The bully wouldn't even go there.
It wouldn't
Yeah, the
even.
bully would look at someone looking up and think like, oh, I'm not gonna give you, I'm not gonna punch you. A narc will look up and say like, you know what? I can smell your empathy. I know I can make you crumble. I'm going for you.
Okay, this last one, this last metric is one that's very holds a lot of interest for me, and that's the potential for change. So narcissists can't happen.
I've never seen it happen. No. And there are studies, really interesting studies. They started in 2013 in Germany, where they did functional MRI scans of the brain. And they compared the brains of narcissists to the brains of people who were non-diagnosed with narcissism. And they found that there were particular parts of the brain, that's where the empathy is housing, particular parts of the brain were non-existent in the narcissist.
Wow.
So when I learned about that, it made perfect sense to me. It makes perfect sense that people with this personality disorder do not change. And therefore, what we said earlier, a personality disorder is part of your internal makeup. Bullying is behavior. You can change behavior. You can channel behavior in a different direction.
So the narcissist, I once had a conversation with a psychiatrist, I don't know, maybe 22 years ago, 23 years ago, and I asked him about sociopaths specifically, but I think it equally applies to narcissists. And what I asked him was, okay, if you have a sociopath who can't feel empathy, but he nonetheless, or she nonetheless, wants to act in his or her best interest, could they be taught that the the power struggles, the types of behaviors that they're engaging in are counter to their own self-interest? And he said yes, he thought they could, but it seems you're saying narcissists couldn't be taught that. But why not? Why do they have like a learning deficiency where they can't learn?
Narcissists react. Yeah, they act on an impulse.
Okay.
And I've had a stream of conversations with someone who was a self-diagnosed narcissist. We spoke, and it was absolutely clear that he was right. And he explained how he can behave in a certain way. So he's copying other people's behavior. He's learning, oh, this is how you are supposed to behave. Yeah, and I will do that. And then he's reaching a moment where the irritation starts, or where there is like, yeah, but wait a moment. I'm not having you doing this to me. I'm not having you taking control. I'm not having you telling a story the way it is, but I don't like it. I want to manipulate that story. And he was saying it's building up, it's building up, it's building up. And then I have to lash out. Then I have to come out with, my urge to get my dissatisfaction out, and my nature needs to come out. And it is really naughty of me, maybe, but I say to all my clients when they talk about their narcissist, I say, don't treat them as a normal human being, because their way of thinking, well, yeah, up to a certain level, yeah, but their way of thinking, the values they embrace, and their objectives are very different from yours. So you will never be able to understand them. You will never be able to reach them. You will never come to the same level. You will never, this is the narc and this is someone else. So there's always a huge distance between. And when a narcissist seems to behave differently and seems to be kinder and seems to be a little bit different, it doesn't last. Their true nature will come up.
So bullies, though, can change. So if somebody has a bully for a child or a friend, how could they help that person to change their behavior, to stop being a bully?
A bully is not necessarily someone who doesn't have any empathy. But at the moment of their bullying action, it's more important for them to feel that power, to get that confidence, to get the confirmation from their audience in order to feel important. There are other ways where they can get the same rewards, the same emotional rewards. And when they start to understand that, and when they understand how much damage they are doing to their victims, they can change their behavior because their motivators are changing.
I'm curious, what is the effect on the victims, the people that maybe are dealing with narcissists or had to? It could be parents, spouse, children of narcissists, whatever. How does it affect them, especially when if they don't know they're dealing with a narcissist? What is the impact on them?
It's loss of self. And when it comes to the child of a narcissist, and I was a child of a narcissist, yeah,
Oh,
it's like there is no natural emotional and mental development because you're in a constant mode of survival. And as a child, you're depending on your parents. You can't criticize them. Well, you can, but you try it once or twice with the narcissist and that's it. So you'll understand there's no point in doing that. So children of narcissists are emotionally and mentally immature. And it's really interesting because what healthy people go through natural stages, being teenagers, being all over the place, being rebellious, finding their own ways. Children of narcissists don't have those opportunities. Partners of narcissists will notice that their self is going, they have no confidence, they have no sense of self anymore, they can't make decisions, they are also in survival mode, but they used to be slightly different. And clients would say to me, I used to be so confident. It's all gone because everything I say is being challenged. Everything I do is being criticized. Everything I seem to remember is also being twisted. So I think I don't know anything anymore. I can't do anything. I'm just like a nothing, really. And I'm surviving because I'm hanging in this relationship. Now, what comes there as well is the cycle of abuse. Love bombing, criticism, gaslighting, undermining, big explosion, and we go back to the love bombing. That is a cycle that feeds addiction. And it's the addiction to the love bombing hormones, the sort of the happy hormones that people are holding on to. And 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 when they do that, that is another word for that is they have built a trauma bond. So
oh,
they
what?
have
What did you just say? What did they build?
it's called the trauma bond. It's a very unhealthy attachment issue where someone is totally hanging on to their emotional abuser
Okay.
and they can't step out of it because they're hoping that what happened in the love bomb stage is coming back and then last. And it's almost like a fix. And when people are in that trauma bond situation, it's almost impossible to just step out of that. So it's really, really hard.
Wow. So basically, the recommendation would be if someone has, not has, if somebody's in a relationship with narcissists, get out, right? If you can, because there's no winning.
Yeah. No, you will always lose. If you've been in a relationship and you step out, I mean, for a start, you lose yourself, but you can build it up again. Yeah, but there's financial losses. There are losses in relationships with people around you, because that's another thing a narcissist is doing. When their victim is by themselves, they're much easier to control than when they have a whole cordon of supporters around them. So they don't want that. They will undermine the friendship, the relationships, the family connections, anything that will give some support to their victim. So that's another one of their campaigns that they are doing. I mean, it's incredible.
In my view, the term narcissist is way overused. It
Yeah.
seems that like people will use this when someone disagrees with them or they have an argument. They'll say that person's a narcissist. And I think there's a danger in that because when you water down a concept in that way, you can take away from people who are actually suffering at the hands of narcissists and maybe even downplay somebody's concerns who says, look, I think this person's a narcissist. And everybody says, oh, that's just the common thing. Does that concern you at all?
Well, my mission is to educate people on what narcissists are, what they are doing, and if you are abused by a narcissist, how you can keep yourself safe and sane and how you can get yourself out of it. Yeah, so I'm really thinking it's a nightmare. It's really wrong to sort of put a finger out and say someone is a narcissist. And and what is really interesting, and this is my own experience as well, when someone is abused by a narcissist and tries to explain it to a friend or a family member or someone, it's very difficult for people to understand and believe what is going on. So my best friend from the Netherlands, and we had dinner 2 years ago, I think, and we were sitting and we were talking about our mothers, and she was saying, "Yet you told me stories, and you still can tell me stories. I can just not imagine that things like that would happen. And I know I trust you, so I trust your storytelling, but I just can't get my head around it. How can a mother behave like that? And how can a partner behave like that when you see them as smiley and loving and that's how they operate in the outside world. So when I talk to my clients and when they say, shall I talk to my friend? I say, you can try, but just dip a little toe in to see how understanding and how open they are to your experience. Because if you have to defend what is happening, if you have to justify your story, you might as well not do it because you're talking to someone who doesn't want to be there with you because they just can't imagine, they can't understand. It's a lonely journey.
It must be. So, Mariette, is there anything before I let you go that we didn't touch on that you think we should touch on?
Well, we can talk for another 3 hours. But no. I think, there's a lot that's a lot of other angles that we can talk about, lots of other things that, you know, well, yeah, actually, what I would say is narcissistic abuse only exists if there is a target/victim that receives the messages. So if the narcissist is throwing all sorts of abuse out, that's the message. They're the sender. There need to be a receiver that says, yeah, yeah, bring it on. I'll slurp it up. I'll slurp it up. And then I react to that. The moment the receiver slurps it up and reacts, that's when the abuse is taking place. So you can have one narcissist and two people in the room getting the same message. One person says, oh, go straight over my head. I didn't even, I didn't pay attention. And the other person is like, oh my God, this came in right there. That's the person. So the target slash victim is part of that abuse, which is also different from when there's a bully, because a bully is like, go straight in there. Yeah. So but a victim of narcissistic abuse has more power than they believe when they are longer in it. They think there's nothing they can do, and they can. And, I'm here to sort of hand out all sort of nuggets and say, you could do this, you could do that, you could do that. Yeah.
Excellent. So, Mariette, where can people find you?
My website is drdestress.co.uk. I've got two books. I didn't show them to you. From
Oh,
victim to shall I pick them up
yeah,
quickly?
go ahead, grab them. Show your books.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds great.
I should have done that. That's all the prep work and all the. But hey, I did not. Here they are. From Victim to Victor and Rulebook of a Narcissist, and they're both available on Amazon. Now, there's a little blurb underneath the podcast here, isn't it?
Yes, if you want me to include links, just send me the links, and when I
Yeah,
post the
I'll send
episode,
a
I'll include
link
them.
to a very brief quiz, which is saying, is this person a narcissist? Yeah, and there are sort of two sort of things. You can tick the box. If you send it over, I'll also give you an ebook on how to recognize and deal with narcissists. Basic,
Excellent.
but it's a good starting point, I would say.
All right, Mariette, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
For now, this is the Rational Egoist signing out. Till next time.